All right, and we are live for the Steelers Depot live stream here on Monday, July 6th. Let me pull up the link myself, make sure that you have it, Dave, and then we will kick things off with some Steelers Q&A. Again, we are giving away a James Conner's book, Fear is a Choice, bottom of the hour. Steelers trivia question, first person to get it right gets the book. Dave, how you doing?
Doing good. Happy Monday. How was your trip?
It was good. I had a good 4th of July. Hope you did what you were out grilling, I imagine.
Yeah, I burned some meat and
There you go.
stayed close to the computer and took a dip in the pool and all those kind of things.
There you
So
go. Good stuff. All right, got a good crowd on hand here already. Talked to you guys early. Mutated Genome, Steeler fan, Xander's in the chat. I am Legend74, Mark Leslie with a good idea. Quick look through Dave's Twitter might come in helpful later. I like that approach, Mark. We have a super chat here already from Mutated Genome. Thank you very much, Mutated Genome. I'm glad you asked the question too with the super chat. Should Jets safety Marcus May be on the Steelers' radar? Well, I have a feeling why you asked that question, Mutated, because wrote about that a little bit earlier today after the report that the Jets are still looking to shop Marcus Maine. I know Dave and I aren't people to do the whole the Steelers have to get this guy every single time a report comes out, but I think Marcus May would make a lot of sense, Dave.
we've already mentioned him
Hmm.
at least once in a previous podcast,
Yeah.
I think.
I'm
Right?
sure Captain Spartan, if he's here, will come in because I know he talked about him a while back. But we have talked about him before too.
Right. So, look, I mean, I know the report came out today from who was it? From Manish.
Meta, the New York Daily News.
Right. And look, I mean, we've talked about all off season here, and we've gotten several questions, even on these live streams about the Steelers and the safety. And what makes the most sense is just prior to the start of the regular season, getting a guy that can offer you depth, a guy that's maybe closing out on his rookie contract, a guy that's obviously underneath the age of 30, and a guy that can potentially help you on special teams. And this is a kid that they had. What Kevin Colbert was at that pro day.
Hmm.
Was Mike Tomlin at that pro day too?
I'll have to look. I believe the report was that Colbert met with May. I don't know if Tomlin was involved or not.
Yeah, I can't remember either. It's been a few years ago, but regardless, usually it's somebody that they've had past interest into is another kind of checkbox. When it comes to potentially trading for guys, and you would think that him being in the final year of his rookie contract wouldn't come with a high expectation for trade value, so probably a fifth round pick or later.
Hmm.
It just checks so many boxes there, and I could definitely say, and you're right, we're not ones that go out and write about Steelers need to sign this guy or need to trade for that guy. When we do write those kind of stories, they're worth looking into. And look, you go back to even last year. I thought Minka Fitzpatrick was a guy the Steelers should kick the tires on, but in no way, shape, or form did I think that they'd give up a first round draft pick to get him there.
Hmm.
So yeah, he makes a lot of sense for the Steelers.
Yeah, and I'll scrolling down now. It'll stream will catch up in a moment. He had a pick against the Steelers. May did last year, which was not the most difficult play in the world. Kind of a lame duck by Hodges, but still, you Steelers have seen him. He's hurt them and kind of sticks in your mind a little bit better. Quick shout out to the chat here. Bry160701. Hey Alex. Hey Bry. AJC's here again. Hello, and so is Pablo Martinez. Thank you guys for being here again. Ask your Steelers questions in the chat. Dave and I will answer them. And bottom of the hour at 7:30 Eastern Time, we'll have a book giveaway, James Conner's book. Thank you to HarperCollins for giving us some copies to give away to you guys. Fear is a Choice is the book. James Conner's first one talking about his life story, and we all know the basics of it. He'll go into detail, of course, in the book about it. Baster29 also here. He says hello. So yeah, with May, if I can get a 6th round pick for him, I do that in a heartbeat because the safety depth is nil right now. And if you get a veteran like May with good experience, who can be your backup free safety, strong safety, and if they want to they've spent Edmonds down in some nickel packages like we talked about. Obviously, you got to replace Edmonds as strong safety. And could you do that with a Cam Sutton? Potentially, but he's not really a strong safety type. Marcus May would be. And so I think there's a chance for May to also have a role in a sub package right away, in addition, of course, being really solid injury and depth replacement.
The thing too about May though is he's probably going to have, assuming that the reports, true, and
Hmm.
they do wind up fielding offers for him. There's probably going to be a few suitors out there as well too.
Sure.
So it's obviously not a slam dunk. But it's definitely a guy that and I'm sure he won't be the only one. Maybe Kevin Colbert looking into as the summer progresses.
Yeah, not the only name for sure. I'm sure we'll come up with some other names later on, but that's the one that really stuck out to me as like this dude's checking every single box. Baser29 says hello and also asks us a question. So should the Steelers sign Juju next year? I think if he plays well, has the bounce back year, I think and expect he will, then he gets the tag and you go from there. I imagine you're probably in a similar camp, Dave.
Yeah, look, I mean, from where we sit right now, the only way I see him potentially returning in 2021 would probably be via a franchise tag. This, of course, assumes that he doesn't sign a new deal prior to the start of this regular season, which right now, there's no indications that such a thing is going to happen right now. So, do I think he can bounce back? Yeah, I do. I really, really do. I mean, when you go back and you look at Juju's 2018 tape, yeah, Antonio Brown was still in town and all like that. But I mean, Juju has proven himself in against some bracket coverages, against some two-man situations, and man, you just go back and turn on that Jaguars game, right?
Yep.
That's a good one to turn on. So assuming he stays healthy, and I think this is something we've talked about recently as well too. How big of an impact did that? I think it started off with maybe an initial toe or foot injury with him last year, and then of course got then it was the knee, I think, and all like that. How much did that play a role in obviously in him missing games and not having the production you would want him out of him last year? And obviously the quarterback, not having Ben Roethlisberger was a huge factor in that. But I think if you go back and look at Juju prior to really going down injured, he was on pace to have a not too, obviously it wasn't going to match his 2018 season, I don't think, but he was on pace to have a pretty decent season nonetheless. So if he can stay healthy, and obviously with the return of Ben Roethlisberger and how we think this offense should be better, he should have a bounce back year. And if he does, and he has one close, let's say, I don't know, 85 to 100 catches and 1,300 yards and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, yeah, he'll be on pace to maybe get that franchise tag from the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm with you. A combination of his good health and Ben's good health should get you much closer to 2018 numbers. Couple of questions here about NFL news, specifically Patrick Mahomes. Everyone's now, I'm sure by now, seen the news of the at least framework of the deal, 10-year, $503 million extension. Question here from Wes Hickok: is the Patrick Mahomes contract the new norm? Also asked, do you think that contract could help their long-term ability to remain a top AFC team? Ted asks a similar question here in a moment, but starting with Wes. Dave, I know that you're someone, and you've been adamant on Twitter about this, rightfully so, about let's see the whole details and particulars of the deal. But what's your reaction to those questions from Wes?
What was the general question from Wes? Because I'm looking at some numbers right now.
Is the Patrick Mahomes contract the new norm? So how much does this reset the market, or is Mahomes just that kind of an exception?
I don't know what he might mean by a new norm. I'll tell you what we do know that's coming out right now on Twitter, and
Okay.
we have the outlined kind of framework of the total value and all. And once you get into what the actual structure is, that's where the details are. You these agents will hurry up and let it be known that the total value of, let's say, the 10-year extension, and that's what it is. It's a 10-year extension on top of really the 2 years that he was still under contract there, and all that supposedly totals out at $503 million. They're going to frame it like that because it sounds
it's $500 million.
I mean, it sounds spectacular, amazing, like that. But here's the latest we have from Tom Pelissero from the NFL Network. Patrick Mahomes gets only a $10 million signing bonus as a part of this deal. And that's not surprising in when you look at what we're dealing with right now, with teams being unsure what's going to happen with the salary cap, and revenues this year and all like that because of the pandemic and all like that. But a $10 million signing bonus on a deal like this is, I mean, that's super low, right?
Right.
And then he has huge roster bonuses on rolling guarantees basis in future years, includes a whopping $4 million bonus due in 2026. Virtually entire deal is conditionally guaranteed. See there?
Mm,
Conditionally guaranteed. Leaves the Chiefs with a lot of short-term flexibility there. Now, there are still a lot of things that we still don't know. Is that 10 million signing bonus? We assume that goes into effect right now,
mhm,
and obviously they can only stretch that out over 5 years. So that would be add an additional, it'd be a $2 million cap charge, amortized signing bonus, cap charge for the first 5 years of the deal if it hit now. Okay, now you're going to have a lot what they talk about, these huge roster bonuses and rolling guarantees. These are all probably going to be set up to be due around the third or fifth day of the new league year, like in almost every March moving forward. And if you look back at my Twitter feed, right after this deal was announced, I said, I bet this thing's full of option bonuses. And that's exactly what's happening here. So they will give them the ability to, and I'm guessing because we still don't have the full option roster bonuses due for all the years. All we have from Pelissero right now is a $49.4 million roster bonus due in 2026. We don't know what the roster bonus is going to be next March 2021, but let's just say it's I don't know, 30 or 40 something $1 million. Okay.
mhm.
Uh, they would obviously give that to them, and then as part of a signing bonus, I'm sure that way they could stretch that out as well too. So there's not it gives them the ability to get out from this quickly if they need to. Now the things that we still lack here are, what are the base salaries in this deal, from year to year over the course of essentially 12 years. What are the amounts of the option bonuses? What other kind of escalators are there? And I think Adam Schefter has something about what is it here? Something about Super Bowl bonus or escalator. I have to find it. I just lost it here. But uh, is it? I guess to answer the question, is this the new norm? Probably not,
Okay, yeah,
as
Wes.
far as structure goes.
Right, Wes ended up saying, I mean, should we expect contracts for quarterbacks like this in the future? So Dak's deal, for example, how is he even going to be in this realm when it's time to do his contract if he comes off the tag?
Real quick here. Let's see. From Adam Schefter here, and all this is coming across really as we're speaking
Hmm.
here. Starting in 2022 and for 10 years running, Mahomes has a $1.25 million incentive for winning AFC Championship game and another $1.25 million incentive for winning NFL MVP per source. That's $25 million of incentives over 10 years, taking value of his deal from 477 million to 503 million. Now that
Okay,
477 million to 503 million, I think too would be new money. Okay,
okay,
average, or no, I'm sorry, that would be the total 12-year. $503 million would be the total value of the deal over 12 years. So then you need to subtract out the what he was due in old money to find the new money average there. But back to Dak Prescott. Uh, do I think Dak is worth a new money average of 40 million? No.
hmm,
And I'm willing to think that the Cowboys don't think that as well either. Do they think he's worth 35 million new money average? Maybe, but I'd be kind of even hesitant to give him that. The structure of this deal is key here, being that the length of it is, and the average yearly value, it makes it look like one thing. I don't think this is the new norm, though, when it comes to structures, because this is really a rolling contract, and I would be surprised if it keeps its entire form the entire 12 years.
yeah, I'm
That
with.
makes sense.
It does, and I think that it's so rare for these 10-year deals. I mean, what people say in the last 10-year deal was like Drew Bledsoe in, I think, the earlier 2000s or late 90s, whenever that was. So I think obviously the quarterback market continues to shift, continues to go up, and players will can try to compete, but no one's. I think Mahomes is just in a different level, and this deal is structured at a different level right now that no other team is going to really entertain or compete with at present, at least.
Yeah, and also this is a this is a deal that I think that's going to be pretty specific to what's going on with the pandemic right now as well too, because uh, it does give the team a little bit of flexibility, if you will, when it comes to payouts and all like that, because the uncertainty right now with the league. However, is here's what we still don't know. Well, I think we got a pretty good idea, but what is the fully guaranteed amount that he's going to earn, let's say, in the first 3 years of this deal? Okay, what is the total cash flow per year? And by cash flow, that means signing bonus, which we already know is what $10 million, and then what are the base salaries, which are pretty much virtually going to be virtually guaranteed on top of it. So I mean, it is going to be fun to look at, and we might have by the end of this show the way these numbers are coming out right now. But what is his cash flow per year for the first 3 years of this deal? That's kind of the thing I think that we're really looking forward to see right now.
And all this conversation really, I think, answers Ted's question. How do you guys feel about Mahomes' 10-year deal? Seems like a long time. Maybe he should have signed like a 4 or 5. Then he could have re-upped it for another 5 years, maybe got more money. That's fair. Yeah, we'll see what the market is. And probably in 4 to 5 years, Mahomes' deal would look reasonable compared to quarterbacks. But he can get the money now, essentially. And if he bets on himself and gets those rolling guarantees, which he's probably going to get, at least early on, then he's still making a ton of money. So it could go either way. I think I don't mean to sound cliche and trite here, but I think it's kind of a win-win for both sides. But I think also a pretty friendly deal for the Chiefs if they ever need to get out of it for whatever reason.
Right. Now, once you exercise one of these huge, option bonds, that's that much more you have invested in
Hmm.
him as well, too. I mean, I think it's safe to say that Patrick Mahomes is going to be a member of the Kansas City Chiefs for at least the next 3 seasons, and realistically, because the way this deal looks to be set up, at least on the early reports here, he's going to be a Chief for the next 5 years. Okay. Now, from that point forward, the way these reports are kind of shaping up, then it becomes probably more on a how's he playing type deal. Now, look, on the flip side there, the good thing for Patrick Mahomes is he's got a no trade clause evidently in this thing.
Hmm.
So the Chiefs can't pawn this whole deal off on another team. So in other words, Patrick Mahomes would essentially force the team to cut him to get rid of him, and then that of course would allow him to sign a new deal elsewhere there. So that's one of the positives here for Mahomes, is that deal cannot be shipped elsewhere along with him there. So that's one thing to keep in mind here. Now, another thing is you have to think that 4, 5, 6 years down the line, assuming the NFL gets back to normal and revenues and the cap keeps going up. I mean, obviously these quarterback salaries are going to keep going up and up and up.
Hmm.
Now, he has paced himself a little bit further ahead of what the normal would be. I mean, he is way, way ahead of the second place guy right now, which was what, Russell Wilson? Was that right?
I think so. Yeah.
In other words, his new money average, which is first being reported at 45 million, that might come in a little bit higher than that. Actually, looking at some of these early numbers, remember that Russell Wilson was leading the league at 35 million. So to have a $10 million increase has already built him in a little bit of a buffer there, right?
Hmm.
As far as the new money average, but even so, what's it going to look like 5 years from now? Will $45 million be a bargain? Be considered a bargain price for a quality quarterback. For a quarterback with of his quality, and that could be the situation there. I would I would dare say that Mahomes is also kind of in a situation where they could go back to the table and
Right.
have this thing kind of renegotiated out.
Yeah. If he's playing like Patrick Mahomes, he'll have some leverage and some bargaining power a couple of years from now.
I think by the time we get all these numbers here, probably by this time next week, we're going to look at this thing more like okay, this is a 5 year X amount contract is all it
Mhm.
is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, good discussion. Brave new world, though. That is a record-setting contract, nonetheless. Mark Leslie asks if the preseason is reduced to 2 games, is the season start date still scheduled to be the same? The NFL is going to do everything in their power to keep the regular season the same. They will sacrifice, and they are sacrificing basically everything up to week 1 of the regular season. So yeah, if you just reduce it 2 games, to my knowledge, week 1 will still stay on schedule.
Yeah, that's my understanding. But I tell you right now, I mean, it's almost daily now. You just kind of wondering what the news holds. And look, there was the conversations, the phone conversations, obviously last week between the NFL and the NFL. PA and obviously the team reps and all like that. While we have the quote unquote reports that have surfaced from that about the preseason being cut and maybe even being cut all the way out, and some of these other things, the league has yet to officially announce anything, right?
Right. Correct. Yeah. But I can't imagine that they don't at least cut this thing in half based on the reports and based on just what seems logical from their perspective.
Absolutely. And also, as I've been stating pretty much all offseason since this thing started, was the fact that uh, they're hard at work negotiating what to do with this salary cap and how to borrow from it. I think there was a report by Jeremy Fowler on Friday or maybe Saturday. I forget which day it was, about, yeah, that's part of these negotiations that are going on right now. Now, you have training camps that are quote unquote supposed to open up on what, July 28th, right?
Hmm.
They obviously they're going to need a lot of this put to bed. You would think at least a week out, right?
At least before camps open. I mean, I know this is going to be a difficult thing to wait through, so I don't know how much time it's going to take. But the more time in advance before camp, obviously, the better for teams to process it.
I guess what I'm saying is we ought to learn a lot this week about what you know what's going to happen with the preseason and what the in stone writing is about health regulations and practice schedules and Ross. Remember there was a report at the end of last week about teams probably going to only carry 80-man rosters.
Hmm.
None of that's been finalized. All we have is just the quote unquote reports to go on. But I have a feeling between now and Friday we should have a lot more to talk about on that front.
I hope so. Some clarity would be nice from the NFL. Just a reminder to ask your Steelers question to Dave and I in the chat below. Just a couple minutes, we'll be giving away James Conner's book, Fear is a Choice. Steelers trivia question. I think it's a good one this week. First person to answer that is not already won will get the book. Just feel free to contact Dave after the podcast and he'll get the book shipped out to you. All right, let's go back to the questions here. Daniel Babar, do you guys think that such long-term deals, this is in reference to the Mahomes conversation, will only help quarterbacks since other players may never receive long-term deals such as TJ Watt? I don't exactly understand the question. Guy like TJ Watt's still getting his deal regardless of what's happening with the quarterback situation. I just think if you're a good player, generally speaking, you're going to get paid. There is certainly a bit of a hindrance and downside, though it's a champagne problem to have on quarterbacks that have massive contracts. But I think if you're a good player, with the way the cap still continues to grow, at least will grow post pandemic, good players are still going to get paid.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the full context of the question there, Alex.
Yeah, but the point is, for TJ Watt's case, since you mentioned him, Daniel, he's getting paid. He will get a long-term deal with Pittsburgh, even with Ben's, even if his contract's still on the books. Watt's still going to get paid and will remain a Steeler.
I think the main takeaway from this, look, I mean, because no one else is signing contracts right now, right? I mean,
Right.
for this to come up today was kind of out of the blue with Patrick Mahomes, and I think it's just another great example of knowing that they had to get something done with Mahomes now because the meter's running,
Hmm.
and B, making something because of the unstable environment right now. That's why I think an unorthodox is kind of the word that I think I've been kind of searching for here when it comes to his structure here. Do I think they maybe have been kind of planning for this for the last couple of months to come up with a structure kind of similar like this because of the current state of the world that we live in? Yeah, potentially. But do I think this is going to be the new norm against for the rest of the NFL? Uh, Ask me after I learn what the first 3 years of this deal is, and how much of it is guaranteed. And once again, and as Alex and I started talking about this conversation, is it's wrapped up in a real fancy wrapper here.
Mhm.
$500 million contract here. Makes Lee Steinberg look, look like Jerry Maguire, right?
Show
But
me the money.
right, but I think the more you start peeling back the layers of this onion, like have already kind of been peeled back, you're going to kind of see that I think we're going to boil this down to being a 5-year, whatever, $1 million contract with X amount guaranteed. The numbers I'm waiting on to see is what is the cash flow for the first 3 years of this deal, and what does the base salaries and
Mhm.
all look like, and of course what the option bonuses look
Yeah,
like.
and given the attention, I imagine we'll find those answers out pretty quickly. Daniel cleared up his question. He says, "Do you think a defensive player such as T.J. Watt could get a long-term deal like Mahomes?" Short answer is no. Those kind of deals are reserved for quarterbacks. No one else is ever going to catch up to that, regardless of position, regardless of talent. But of course, these players can still get mega deals, and when Watt cashes in, he will cash in big, like a Khalil Mack plus kind of deal.
Yeah, I really don't think the Mahomes deal has any bearing whatsoever on a guy like Watt for sure.
Yeah, and it's just the nature of
Uh,
the quarterback position. It's the most valuable position. It's the one that gets paid, unlike any other position.
if you look at like your top edge rushers right now, I think Khalil Mack still leads everybody. I think at $23.5 million in new money average right now, and it's hard to imagine T.J. Watt signing a new deal before the start of this season. So the meter's obviously still running on him. I mean, we could be talking at the same time next year. We could still be looking forward to a TJ Watt deal to take place sometime during training camp that will pay him. I don't know. I mean, if $23.5 million is the top right now, I mean, if this guy goes out and has, 14 and a half, 15 sack season this year, and let's say he's in the running once again for defensive player of the year. Who knows? Let's say he wins defensive player of the year. I mean, you're going to be looking at a price tag on him probably approaching close to 30 million, right?
I don't know if it's going to be that high, but above
I mean,
Khalil
yeah,
Mack, I mean, that's obviously going to be the goal.
I mean, it's 23.5 million is the mark right now, and that's before any of these other players out there sign. That's before free agency next year
Sure.
even happens. So, what happened? Who's going to hit free agency and for edge rushers and potentially bust that 23 and a
Hmm.
half million number, and then you turn around and assuming T.J. Watt's still waiting to get done come the start of training camp. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
You could be looking at 28.
What's your boy Shaq Barrett going to get? He's on the tag this year.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's another one. Here's the thing with him. uh, he's going to probably end up playing on the tag this year, right?
Yeah, and I think he's on DN tag money. I think he's on a different. I forget. I think it's like 19 million is his tag this year.
Right, but regardless, I think all of it depends. I mean, if he can, it's all going to depend on the season he has.
Of course, yeah. Is he a
Uh,
1 year wonder in Tampa, or can he do it again?
right. That's the big thing with him, as opposed to okay, let's say T.J. Watt, uh, has an off year and
Sure.
10 sacks. Is that going to greatly decrease
Yeah, they're
him?
different cases
Right,
to an extent.
right.
I
See,
understand that
you
point.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm just trying to think of pass rushers that are about to hit the market. I can't tell you the list. I just knew Shaq Barrett was on the tag. I'm sure there are other names. I mean, Clowney's not going to get what he wanted, but we'll see what Clowney gets
But
to.
Bud Dupree is going to
Yeah,
be a
there you go.
classic example.
There you go.
It's going to be interesting to watch maybe Shaq Barrett and Bud Dupree go head to head. Those
Hmm.
guys are probably competing to be maybe the highest paid edge rusher in the league. In 2000 March of 2021, who thought we'd be saying
Yeah.
that 3 years ago?
Brave new world indeed. One more question, then we'll do the James Conner book giveaway. This comes from Bryan 160701. If Stephon Tuitt misses more than 10 games this year, do the Steelers trade him? Very unlikely because he misses that much time again. That what team's going to really want to take on that contract? What's his contract run through? Is it 2021 or 2022? When does that deal go through for Tuitt?
It's got a couple more years on it
Is it
at
a couple
least.
more
I
years?
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still
But
unlikely.
here's what's going to happen there. And obviously, if he misses too much time, they're going to. It runs through 2022 with him.
Okay.
All right. So obviously, if he misses, if he has another injury plagued season and misses too much time, he's going to be a cap casualty.
Yeah.
in late February, early March. That's what's going to happen to him. I doubt they would find a suitor to take on a $9 million base salary in 2021. And a $9 million. I don't know. It depends on, of course, on the injury and how he
Mm-hmm.
performs around that. But I would think either the Steelers are going to keep him or cut him is what the
Yeah.
verdict's going to be, plain and simple, next March with him.
I'm with you. And it's talented to see us. If we were to miss significant time again and underwhelm again because of it, then you may have that conversation. That's not out of the realm, but I think to it, just the talent is immense with him and as good as anybody on this defense at his best. All right, guys, it is time for our James Conner Fear is a Choice book giveaway, giving one away the last 2 weeks. Again, first person to correctly answer all parts of this trivia question, reply in the chat.
A three-parter tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a pretty heavy question. It's a bit of a way back machine in this one. All right, so here's the question, guys. Who was the last Steelers player to wear number 7 in a regular season game before quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, and who did he complete his only career pass attempt to, and against what team? So you got to name the guy that wore number 7 before Ben. He was a quarterback. Who did he complete that pass to, and against what team was that pass completed against? First person to answer all three parts of that question wins James Conner's book, Fear is a Choice. So I like this question. What was the inspiration behind this question, Dave? Or just random? Let's just find something hard for people to try to answer.
It was complete boredom, and then obviously going back, you actually had wrote about the.
I will pull up the article after. I have the play. I have the video of the play.
And I dug a little bit deeper into it just out of a little bit of boredom over the weekend there. But I think it is a great question, and we do have the final breakdown of the Patrick Mahomes contract. We'll get to after we get a winner on this contest. Now,
okay. I will repeat the question again in case you missed it the first time. Who was the last Steelers player to wear number 7 in a regular season game before Ben Roethlisberger? Who did he complete his only career pass attempt to, and against what team?
I think we got a winner in there.
Do we? Or is my chat not updating? Okay, there we go. It just updated. Mark Leslie, who had mentioned about looking at Dave's Twitter earlier. He is correct. He is our winner. It was Pete Gonzalez to Heinz Ward. Not spelled correctly, but we'll take it. And against the Cleveland Browns. So Mark Leslie, congratulations on winning James Conner's book, Fear is a Choice. And let me pull up that play for you guys. A quick trip down memory lane. This was in 99, right?
I've got it in my Twitter feed there too. If you want, let's see here.
Yeah, against the Browns in the 43-0 win Monday Night Football. He came in an 8-yard gain on 3rd and 22 to Heinz Ward. It'll show up on the stream here in a moment, and he is one of 2 Steelers in the modern era to have only one career pass attempt, joining Bryan St. Pierre, who went 0 for 1 in his career as a Steeler.
And that was the welcome back to the NFL Cleveland Browns game, was it not?
That was Tim Couch coming in the game and getting picked off, I believe, by Scott Shields, I think, like his first career pass attempt. God. Some real deep. Joey Porter destroyed him that game. I remember there's a clip when Couch entered. There were people like in like an angel costume, like Couch is our savior and everything, and that was dismissed pretty quickly. So, yeah, crazy game, 43-0. Against the Browns. So congrats to Mark. Dave, how can he contact you after the show?
Send me an email to theterriblepodcast@gmail.com and let me know that you won the book via the Monday night live stream, and I invite you to do that as quick as possible so I got a mail. I'm sending the wifey out on a mail run tomorrow, so I'd like to get that possibly out in the mail on Tuesday as well there. So congratulations to him on the win.
And Mark says he's in the UK. Is that going to be an issue sending that out?
I guess we can flip the bill on that, can't we, Alex?
I think we'll survive. All right, so congrats again to Mark for winning the book. And I don't know if we're going to do more giveaways, but if we do, we'll see it in future streams.
Mark, obviously, just because I don't use those kind of addresses. Just make sure you're real thorough and get me the correct address in there. So I make sure I properly label the package and all like that to get to you and all.
Yeah, it's weird. I just sent a gift out for the UK, and I can't wrap my head around the addresses there. But
what's that gonna do? Cost us about $100.
100 British pounds.
What costs more, pounds or dollars these days?
You're asking the wrong guy. Above my pay grade. All right, let's get back to the questions. Ted Webb, with lack of preseason and even now lack of team practices, seems like they want teams to practice separately, offense on its own and defense on its own. How much will this affect the first month of the season? Very good questions. Again, nothing set in stone. I think there was a report the NFLPA but does not want to have any 11 on 11 practices this year, which I understand, but I also kind of don't, because at some point this thing stops resembling football and it really hurts these guys trying to play a game, and you're gonna play 16 games. I mean, what's a couple of 11 on 11 practices, for your evaluation? So I think Matthew wrote about it here that at the start of camp you'd have groups of 20, then you'd work together in groups of 40. So yeah, I mean, when you think about in season stuff, you want to practice against the other team's concepts, offense, defense. You have the cards of what they run. If you don't get to see those looks, I mean, every team will have to deal with that, I guess. So it's all in the same playing field, but that's going to be a real impact. Any thoughts there, Dave? Again, no one has any answers right now, unfortunately.
Man, I'm mesmerized looking at the numbers of this. I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry. You did want to give him a Mahomes update. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just, this is porn to me.
You're gonna get us demonetized over here.
This kind of stuff here.
Uh,
Look, signing bonus for Mahomes, $10 million. His base salary was already scheduled to be 825,000 this year. That's staying the same. All right, so he's going to pocket in cash, in only cash in 2020. That's what makes this deal kind of weird. A little less than $11 million in cash. Now, normally, first year of a mega deal like this, a player would pocket an extreme amount of cash here. Now, 2021, $990,000 base salary, a roster bonus of 21,716,000. He's got a workout bonus due of 100,000 as well too. So he's set to cash in 22, a little over 22.8 million in 2021. That's a 2-year total right there of really 32, I guess 33.6 is all Mahomes will earn in the first 2 years.
But so
That
year three, I mean, that number better go up pretty high for year three.
and it's really not. It's
No?
a $1.5 million base salary in 2022, a roster bonus of 27.4 million, a workout bonus of 550,000. So basically, a cash flow take home in 2022 of almost $30 million. So where were we at there in 2-year cash flow was 33.6, did I say?
Yeah,
So
33,
add
34.
add, add another 30 million to that, 63.6 give or take.
Over the
Uh
first 3 years.
over the first wait a minute, 33 and 60, what did I say, 33.6
Yeah, it'd be like
plus
64 over the first 3 years.
right.
Yeah, and now that is working off the extension, I guess, too. Does that play a role in this thing?
No, because
No.
this is all kind of rolled together,
Okay.
basically. Okay, so
Okay.
you have the new 10 years on top of the old 2 years. So his cat, I mean, the Chiefs really getting out of this cheap,
Mm-hmm.
man. As far as cash flow, that's why it goes to say you got to wait to see what these numbers say, because I mean the cash flow alone for the first 3 years of this thing is extremely cheap,
Mm-hmm.
extremely
Just
cheap.
quickly, what is the incentive based on what you've seen? And not all the numbers are known right away, but we're getting a good portion of the picture. What is the incentive for Mahomes to do a deal of this length and this magnitude? What's the real benefit for him here?
Uh,
If you had to take your best guess at it.
just being,
Some
just
semblance of security. If he plays well, he's getting these big bonuses. And
I can't. I mean, other than it being team friendly, to help along the way. I mean, basically, this is a year to year kind of deal. Now, obviously, look, I mean, they get to next March and that 21, almost $22 million signing bonus. I mean, roster bonus. It goes without saying they're going to exercise that, right?
hmm
Now, will they want him running around with a? I mean, they could legitimately not turn that roster bonus into a signing bonus and still, by the looks of things, have him have a little over a $30 million cap charge by not turning any of that into no, actually it would be you have to add 2 million onto that because of the signing bonus. So it'd be roughly a 32, $33 million cap charge for him in 2022 just by leaving the deal alone.
Hmm.
Okay. So that's not going to really hurt the Chiefs, not only against the cap this year nor next year. Now, when you get into the following year in 2022 with the $27.4 million roster bonus there, they could go a lot of different ways with that. They could decide to maybe leave it as is, or they could turn the bulk, or if not all of it, into a signing bonus, and then to kind of lower his cap charge there. So what is the incentive really for Mahomes here? I really don't have a good answer for you overall, because of it really not having a strong cash flow for it in the first 3 years of the deal. And quite honestly, the Chiefs hold a lot, they could easily cut him after
Hmm.
2000, let's say after 2022. They could easily not pay, I'm sure that 30, see, in 2023, he's due a roster bonus of 34.4 million. Well, you just decide not to pick that up. Now it's good. What we still don't know is how much of these roster bonuses are guaranteed, right?
Right, right. We don't know much about guaranteed other than injury guarantee and that pitiful $10 million signing bonus.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll get with some more information. What I have on screen for you guys right now is something Tom Pelissero tweeted out the other day showing the NFL's COVID protocol. So at least that outlines to me what I think is one of the biggest NFL challenges in handling positive cases and what is the protocol. And essentially means if you have a positive case, you're probably going to miss at least that upcoming week, even if you were to test on, a Monday after a game, you'd still probably have a good chance of missing that following Sunday. And back to Mahomes briefly here, Sean Mays makes a point that says that he's reading it as team friendly in a lot of ways, as you're kind of explaining over the last 20 minutes or so. So, going back to Steelers questions, Stolen Beard says, who plays in the slot? Do Steelers lean on defense and play a safer style of offense early in season and or early in each game? What will the Powerball numbers be this week? DM me the last answer. I'll DM you that. Stolen Beard. I don't know if you mean slot for offense or defense. For offense, it's going to be Juju. For defense, it's going to be Hilton and potentially some combination of Cam Sutton in dime packages as well. And to the second question, the Steelers lean on defense, play a safer style of offense. I wouldn't say that they're going to play a safer style of offense. They won't have the Ben, throw the ball 650 times like 2018. So if that means safer, then so be it. But they're going to play their offense. If Ben's the same dude, I mean, you have your franchise quarterback, you're paying him all that money. You're not going to play scared with that guy.
No, and I think you could kind of see a little bit of an extension of what happened a lot in 2018 as well too. And I wrote about this somewhere on the site, something along the lines of King of Dink and Dunk.
Hmm.
For the most part, I don't mean that in a negative kind of negative way. I think Ben was real effective. If there's one thing that Todd Haley should get some credit for, it was getting Ben to get rid of the ball a lot quicker.
Yeah, that was the
Uh,
biggest thing. He helped preserve his career.
it really did. Now I understand the two didn't get along together. I know there's still people rubbing their hands together, some angst about play calling and yada yada. Okay, you're gonna have that with any offensive coordinator. But if Todd Haley gets credit for one thing, it's the fact that he was able to get Roethlisberger to get the ball out a lot quicker than what he normally would, and that kind of manifested itself and really came to a kind of a an end there in 2018, and the Steelers needed it at that time too because of the poor field position that we've talked about several times. On top of it, I think to some degree you're going to see a little bit more of that. I think you're going to see a lot of those mesh. I mean, the mesh has become almost a staple in the Steelers offense, right?
Yeah, they've used it more the last couple of years for sure.
With those underneath crossers, and of course, having James Conner back healthy, a quick and easy check down to a guy like him. Now, the difference that we hope to see, at least I think, with me, you let me know your thoughts on this as well too, Alex. In 2020 Roethlisberger versus let's say 2018 Roethlisberger was the ability to be more accurate and especially in the first half of the season when it comes to passes more than, let's say, a deep ball in the NFL is 16 yards past the line of scrimmage. Well, I tend to still look at it at 20 yards or more past the line of scrimmage. I think that's the biggest thing that we're kind of looking for there to be a little bit different than we saw in 2018 was Ben's accuracy and the ability to hit deeper down the field, in addition to the, because that will certainly help balance out the dink and dunk game, if you will. And in fact, I'm calling it right now. First play offensive play from scrimmage in 2021 for Ben Roethlisberger is going to be a deep ball down one of the side of the fields.
All right.
But I think that's one of the biggest things maybe that we're potentially looking for in 2020 Roethlisberger versus, let's say, 2018 Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that would be huge for a guy like James Washington. So we don't have Powerball numbers for you. I'm sorry, but we do have what's going to happen on the first play against the Giants on Monday Night
There you
Football.
go.
All right.
Line it up.
Mark Leslie, that's your lead. What is that? Stone Cold lead.
Stone Cold lead pipe lock of the century of the week.
There you go. Carl's specialty. Mark Leslie, since Dave loves hypothetical, if you could choose just one player from the league to come to the Steelers that gives us the best chance of winning the Super Bowl this season, who would you pick? That's a really good question. I mean, no wrong answers, obviously. Probably someone on the offensive side of the football because your defense is already so strong. If you could choose Saquon Barkley or Zeke Elliott or George Kittle would probably be your choice, Dave. I mean, no bad answers there.
Yeah, Kittle certainly would be nice in this offense, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or obviously take a top receiver, take a Michael Thomas, Julio. Really, no, just give me whatever the best skill guy would be. I guess Julio. If you could add a Julio and a Juju and whatever, I mean, look out. Wes Hickok, man, if Faneca and Nunn get in the Hall of Fame, Canton is going to get painted in black and gold next season. Amen to that. Yeah, I think Faneca's got a good shot, and as you noted over the weekend, or Matthew did, one of you guys, there's been a push for Nunn to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And anybody that's listened to the podcast or read the site for a number of years or followed me on Twitter, and look, we're not blind to the fact that Bill Nunn has been overlooked. And really, to be honest with you, Faneca too. It's amazing that we've now gone 5 years in a row with him being a finalist, right? And him not getting in. Now, over the weekend, there was a little bit of push, and it really kind of started by one of the Hall of Fame voters. And on top of that, you had several other Hall of Fame voters kind of seemingly agreeing with the original take there. So, look, Bill Nunn. We don't need to recite Bill Nunn's resume and credentials for deserving to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I will say this, and this has been one of my arguments all along. I'm a huge Gil Brandt fan, and I know coming out of a Steelers fan, out of the mouth of a Steelers fan, that's kind of blasphemous, being as how Gil Brandt spent most of his all of his formidable years with the Dallas Cowboys. But the guy really is that much of a genius, and he really still is a guy sharp as a tack when it comes to evaluating draft players and all like that. We even referenced him I don't know how many times during the podcast during draft season here. The thing is, Gil Brandt's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and essentially as a contributor. Last I looked, the Steelers and Nunn had more Super Bowl championships than Gil Brandt did, right? And that 1974 draft class alone, plus one Donnie Shell, I mean, that to me, you don't need anything more there. But I hope this push early in the summer just didn't happen too early and kind of fizzles out. I hope this kind of and look, it always kind of set into motion, I guess, because of an article on Deadspin and because of people with the Hall thinking more minorities outside of players need to push the look. Minority aside, Bill Nunn belongs in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, not just because he's a minority there. So for people that listen to this, get on Twitter or get the email addresses of these Hall of Fame voters and make your voices heard and let them know, that you think Bill Nunn and why you think Bill Nunn belongs. Keep it fresh in their memory. The only thing that I hate, like I said, is that maybe this happened so early in the summer that maybe it loses steam by the time we get into the semifinalists or the finalists and all like that. So keep your fingers crossed. And Lord knows it's time Faneca got in too. So yeah, it could end up being one giant party in Canton next year, right?
Yeah, to have Nunn and Shell go in together like that would be really special. Although obviously Nunn's no longer with us, but yeah, Nunn found players who otherwise would have not been found because they played at HBCUs that just got overlooked by the general NFL and scouting community. So what he did and kind of break ground to find those guys and recognize they had talent. Dating back to his days at the Pittsburgh Courier before he ever became involved intimately in terms of this being hired by the Steelers. The Steelers used his lists early on, even going back to, I think, the article I did on the 7 Steelers who rebroke the color barrier. I think even they used some of the information from Bill Nunn on guys like, I forget the specifics, but Jack Spinks and Ted Benson and guys like that. So there's a lot of history there for Nunn as it relates to the NFL, to the Steelers, and like I said, just finding players and giving players publicity that otherwise would have not been would not have happened. And those players may not have gotten the league, or certainly would not have the careers they would have had or did have had it not been for Bill Nutt. So I think well deserving. Wonderbread says, "Bring back Martavis Bryant," in all caps. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm sorry to disappoint, but he's got to get cleared by the NFL first before you start talking about any team signing him. I doubt it's going to be by Pittsburgh.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Yeah.
Let's see here. Scrolling down through the questions, about 10 more minutes left. Be sure to get your Steelers questions in before we wrap up the stream. Steve Williams asks, have y'all thought about making a Steelers all-time list, like the best player at every position all-time? Dave and I, a couple years ago, and I'll try to pull up the article, did a ranking of the top 100 Steelers. It wasn't by position group. It was just overall top 100. I don't know if I'll be able to find it because it's going to get lost in all the top 100 listings that come out each offseason. But I was thinking about that maybe we should revisit that. Maybe this offseason. I was thinking maybe more next offseason, the top 100 Steelers of all time, because I had a lot of fun with that list and kind of debating and thinking about who I would really rank, and be curious to see what guys might have changed over the last handful of years.
David O too. Does
Mm-hmm.
something similar to that, doesn't he? On the site.
In terms of top 100.
I thought he what has David O done in the past on the site?
I mean, he does
Ranking
he does
top.
a yeah, he does a lot of old school players. He just did one on Buff Dinelli a couple weeks ago. I'm just not thinking of the article you're thinking of right now. I could be.
Yeah, I think he's attacked something along those lines. Now maybe not just specifically top 100, but I think he keeps a rolling kind
Oh
of
yeah, it's top 500 Steelers of all time. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
See,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not crazy. Well, I'm crazy, but
Yeah,
I mean, you
not
know what I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah, he's got to stop. It's an impressive list because he has like every player in Steelers history was assigned a value, and it's pretty crazy. He does continually update that.
Maybe that's something that he can maybe get into.
Mhm.
Next off season or something
Yeah,
along
this
those
was
lines.
back in 2016. I'll read off the top 5 in our list. For my, because we had personal lists, we kind of combined them together. My top 5 was Joe Green at 1, followed by Lambert, Blunt, Swan, and Webby. And your top 5 was Green, Bradshaw, Lambert, Webby, and Ben. I'd be curious to know if Ben's moved up on your list at all over the past couple of seasons, above maybe
Me?
Webby. Yeah. Do you still
When
have
did I do
Bradshaw
that?
above Ben? This is in July 2016. It's about 4 years ago.
Yeah, I think we talked about kind of Ben versus Bradshaw recently, didn't we? In one of the shows
Mm-hmm.
there, and I just think in who would have been better in a given time. It's hard to imagine Bradshaw obviously playing in today's NFL, right? You know,
Yeah, it's the whole
is
era
it
debate, sure.
right? But it is a little bit easier potentially seeing Bradshaw. I mean, Roethlisberger playing in the '70s, right?
Yeah, I
Is
guess.
it,
I hear what you're saying.
I guess what I'm getting to, uh, eras aside and all like that, I would probably tend to want Ben.
Okay. So would you have
And
like Ben?
that's no
Of
disrespect to
course.
Bradshaw, but uh, just evolution on my part, I guess.
And hello, Samantha. So you just joined the chat. So would you have Ben at 2? Would you just kind of flip Bradshaw and Ben based on that list you had 4 years ago? Okay.
Probably, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that'd be fun to revisit. I had a lot of fun. I'm really happy. I think you had Jack. Yeah, Jack Butler at 16. I was happy when I saw that because I love those pre-null guys that get overlooked so much.
Man, I would love to get a hold of just gobs of old tape from
Mhm.
pre 1970.
Yeah.
There's not enough of that floating. I mean, there's some of it out there, and seems to be more and more surfacing every year. But it really would be fun to get a hold of a slew of that stuff from pre 70s and Steelers related.
I think this was pre me joining Steelers Depot or very early on, but I tried to interview Jack Butler, and I thought we had an interview set up, and it got canceled at the last second because Butler had so many interview requests. He got tired of all the attention. He was like, I'm not talking to anyone anymore. So I missed out on the chance to interview Jack Butler. Samantha, yes, we did talk a lot about Patrick Mahomes. You can go back to earlier in the podcast when this, or the podcast, the live stream to listen to the conversation once it gets posted and archived. Um,
Also, let me make sure
mhm.
everybody knows Tom Pelissero on Twitter has the layout of the entire contract there, so you can kind of see the numbers that I was following along with Alex. After we did the question and all, like gave away the book and all. He's got a great breakdown of that contract. It shows it by year, base salary, and roster bonuses. So pull that up if you're going to re-listen to this, Samantha or others. It'll give you a nice tool to follow along with what I was reading off of there.
Couple more questions here. Don Knock, any different types of coverage y'all want to see the secondary run now that they will have a year of experience together? Dave, any thoughts?
No, look, I mean they're not going to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I think going to see probably kind of the same kind of stuff, and I think Minka, in so many words,
Literally,
told us
basically said that they play what
told
they play.
right. They play what they play. You'd like to see pattern a little bit more pattern matching probably.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that keep offenses and young quarterbacks specifically on their heels. Show them one thing, and then they look at it and they think they're going to get the same thing, but it ends up being a pattern matching. And lo and behold, you have a slot receiver right there. I mean, a slot cornerback. Jumping something right there. So I'm a huge fan of trap stuff and that kind of stuff. But pattern matching with it as an experience of a secondary as they'll have this year makes a lot of sense to maybe see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, and just pre-snap disguises rotation with a secondary that does have the continuity they have, which is rare. Where everybody's returning, I think is helpful. Obviously, about making having Minka move around, play some more robber coverage, not be so attached and tied to the post the way that he was at times last season. Just getting more involved. Or see, maybe even it's kind of crazy to say, maybe a little more zone coverage because you're facing some mobile quarterbacks in the AFC North, where you're talking Burrow, of course, Lamar and Baker. It's hard to play a lot of man coverage against them because your back's turned. Those quarterbacks across the line of scrimmage, you're late to react. Those guys can make some hay. So I maybe you want to add some more zone stuff, but as usually kind of pattern matching too, as opposed to the very high rate of man coverage they play these days.
Correct.
All right, let's see. Couple more questions here. Where are we at? Steve Williams, who are y'all best Steelers wide receiver all time? I'm having a hard time picking my top three. And going back to our list, that's why I brought it back up from 2016. This was pre-AB, also pre-AB, not pre-AB going crazy, I should say, in the last couple really strong years of his career. In my list, just kind of looking at it here at a glance, I had Swan at 1, Stallworth 2, and round 3, and Hines Ward a close number 4. And Dave's list, I think, was slightly different. He had, let's see here. Do you have Hines at 1? Yeah, Hines 1, Swan 2, Stallworth 3, and AB at that time was ranked lower, 32nd on your Steelers list. So that was our
And
list
what
back.
year was that?
Yeah, and this was 2016. This is still the top 100 list. So things have
Well,
changed, obviously, by
yeah,
then.
a lot has
Or
changed.
would you have AB
Uh,
above those three you had? Swan, Stallworth, Ward?
Man, I don't see how look. I know the guy went crazy and all like that, but man, Alex, for those basically from the time we wrote those lists on, the guy just went literally
Mm-hmm.
nuts on the field, right? I
Sure.
mean, we're running out of adjectives and ways to describe what he would do, on a weekly basis. I don't see how you form any kind of wide receiver list for the Steelers right now and don't have Antonio Brown at the top of it.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, depending on how you would set up your list, that would put him at least around number 8, placing Hines Ward. But yeah, I think from a talent standpoint, it's no question with AB. It's just a matter of how much does how things ended color your interpretation of greatest Steelers receiver. That's based on your definition of the word. But from a talent
Yeah,
standpoint,
look,
AB's number
I
1.
only look at it on the field.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I'm not gonna factor in off the field stuff, that kind. I mean, that guy was just absolutely amazing. Like I said, basically from the time what was the date on those? Was it
of this list.
right of the off? Was it off season?
Yeah, this
That
was
was
July 25th. We did it throughout the off season, but this was just
okay.
our summer time killer.
Yeah,
So,
boy, he really turned it on those last
mhm.
few seasons there for
Yeah, that
sure.
would have been
So.
all 2016, 2017, and ending 2018.
Mhm.
All right, Austin Averick, with the addition of Ebron and potential breakout of Johnson and Washington, how do you see the offense splitting snaps? In terms of the tight ends, I think it'll be pretty split down the middle for Vance and Ebron, about 500 each. We'll see who stays healthier, and that guy will play more, of course. And I think at two receiver sets, it'll be Juju as the Z, Deontay as the X, and then their base 11 personnel, three receivers. Juju kicks the slot where he's most comfortable, and Washington will come in and play the Z. So that's my interpretation of the offense and splitting snaps.
Yeah, and that's where I come down on it too. What'd you think about the snap, the draft pick snap breakdown I put up this
Yeah,
morning?
that was really good. I'll bring it up here really quick. Any major takeaways? It's hard to really even apply to this year's class just because of the unique nature of the class. But what were your takeaways?
Not not much of anything that I didn't think that I thought that I already knew, if that makes sense. There you'll look at injuries, obviously. I think by going through it, it leads me to believe that the big potential winner in this year's draft class could be Kevin Dotson.
In what sense?
Just because from the injury front, you have two guards on the field at all time, right?
Yeah, so you think if
And
someone goes down, he's next man
yeah,
up.
I think there. I mean, look, if you lost a God forbid, you lost a guy like David DeCastro, what are you gonna do?
Was Wisniewski come in?
I mean, you could, but is that ideal? Hadn't most of his time been at left guard anyway?
I'd have to look. I imagine he's played everything along the interior.
Sure, he has, but I
Yeah.
think he's a better left guard. I think he's a better left guard than anything
Okay.
of the three, and
It
also
just
the
depends on
whole.
Dotson's readiness at that point. What does it
Sure,
happen week 1 or does it happen week 14? That might be a question.
yeah, but you go all the way back to 2011. How ready was that? Was the year for Marcus Gilbert,
Right.
right?
Well, did you have any other option when Cologne went down? I mean, I don't remember the exact
I
landscape
don't
of the
remember
team
who
back
was.
then. And plus,
Yeah,
Gilbert was a second round pick, which is a little different than a fourth rounder.
sure.
I think just in terms of the expectations of how much those guys could play right away. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, who knows? Yeah, could Dotson have that role? Absolutely. I just think it would come through injury.
Right, and obviously, yeah, I think most of them, or really all of them. Look, I mean, Chase Claypool's going to see some percentage. We don't know what that is, and I think how he grasps things early on in situational football, uh, as the season progresses, will determine how his role expands outside of that. But even so, I mean, are you taking over or under 20% of the total snaps right now?
Over the entire season for Claypool,
Right.
I'm probably going to go under right now.
Yeah, and see that's what I've stated almost since day one, and get a lot of pushback from that. Now, obviously, yeah, last season it was imagined or really speculate on my part that would be the situation for Deontay Johnson, but I mean, you had Dante Moncrief fall flat on his face, you had Juju miss a lot of time. That obviously led to Deontay playing the amount of snaps that he played.
But really, just once Moncrief went down, that was Deontay's X spot. I mean, he was
Right.
playing all those snaps. How'd you get the snap counts for like the early guys, like Matt Spaeth? What website? Is that Pro Football Focus
Yeah,
or one?
PFF had
Okay,
had him. Yeah.
okay, because
And like I said, we charted that stuff. Well, not that far back, but
yeah,
PFF had the 2007 and eight
okay.
stuff that I grabbed.
Good deal. All right, let's see. Play dead 0112. I went back and looked at Cordell Stewart after Dave posted a highlight and didn't realize he was that dynamic. Yeah, you've posted a lot about Stewart this offseason and your couple series about biggest plays and your kind of countdown to the start of the season. He was slashed for a reason.
Yeah, he was Lamar Jackson before Lamar Jackson, right?
Amen to that.
But you know what? The more you dig into his old tape as well too. If they would have spent time with him, maybe at being a wide receiver, he could have been to Juju before Juju. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, fair.
he was extremely dangerous in the slot. With a quarterback mind and all. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened. I don't think they did him any favors early on, kind of going back and forth with him.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That had been difficult.
right? And probably had his head spinning quite a bit there. So it would have been interesting to see what would have happened with him. Maybe had he stuck with one position right from the get go, and maybe what would have happened if he would have been able to make a transition or been given time to make a transition into a wide receiver spot.
Mm-hmm. Tucker Cable, last Steelers question, then we'll get to a couple movie recommendations from the chat for Dave. Who do you think will lead the Steelers in yards from scrimmage in 2020? That is a very good question. I first thought went to Juju, just because I don't know about the health of guys like Connor. Could it be Deontay? What do you think, Dave?
Wow, that man, and it's obviously going to come down to health. I
Sure.
think on the two that I'm torn between, and I'm torn between Juju and James Conner. James Conner had 1,400 yards from scrimmage, did he not? In
In
2018.
2018, yeah, and that was only in 13 games. He had the ankle sprain that cost
Right.
him
He
against the
had he had
Chargers.
the ankle sprain. I mean, if James Conner, and it's a big if, I mean, it's like talking about Vance McDonald a couple years ago, if he can stay on the field, I mean, I think James Conner has the ability still to put up a 1,700 total yards from scrimmage kind of
Mm-hmm.
season. Now it's a big if, obviously.
Right.
If not him though, my next guess would be Juju.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you told me James Conner was playing all 16 games, he's the no-brainer pick because most starting running backs who play all 16 games are going to be your leader from scrimmage. Just hard to trust that at this point. So you could even throw Deontay in there. I mean, if you said Deontay, I wouldn't get too mad at you about it.
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing with Deontay is how many down the field situations really is he going to be able to? I mean, yeah, he did as a rookie, and I think that's one of the things that we've talked about several times. One of the pluses with him is that we saw a Deontay be able to stretch the field and stack and get open. But ideally, that's you're probably not going to see a lot of that. I wouldn't think. Even in a second season, a lot of your deeper stuff's probably going to go to Juju, Washington or Claypool, that kind of stuff there. So I would tend to think that it would take Deontay several more catches to kind of make up a little bit of that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe that lost deep yardage.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I just think about from a target who's going to be on the field enough every single snap. He's going to be out there, the X receiver, 3-by-1 backside, getting a lot of one-on-one tasty matchups. But yeah, I'd probably go Juju over Deontay. But if someone told me, I think Deontay's going to be the guy, I mean, I could understand that point of view.
I think it'd be one of those three
Yeah, I think so
for
too.
sure. I'd bet some sizable amount on that.
Samantha asks, Dave, any good movie or book recommendations this week?
Oh wow. I'm not a new movie kind of guy now. All my stuff that I talk to Alex about is usually stuff of things. I don't know if you've seen the original Jaws. It's absolutely
I have.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Both of you guys, Samantha and Alex. Cool Hand Luke is just a classic movie. I don't know. I'm trying to think of other ones that come to the top. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen the Shawshank Redemption. I think that's another classic movie. Royal Tenenbaums. I don't know how quirky of a mind you have, Samantha, but I kind of come from that broken, kind of messed up, dysfunctional family. The Royal Tenenbaums is absolutely fantastic. It got some comedic value to it, and enough quirkiness in it. I think it's a very underrated movie.
Mutated Genome says to have you send me the Blu-ray version of Cool Hand Luke. Probably won't watch it, even if you do.
Man, it's
And
such a great movie, And look, Bull Durham. I'm surprised you've never seen Bull Durham, being the sports fan
mhm.
that you have, and you're a romantic at heart. I think, Alex, you would.
Hopeless romantic.
That too. It's got a storyline to it, And look, and Kevin Costner is in it, and what's her name? I forget the other critically acclaimed actress that's in it as well too. But yeah, very very good movie, Bull Durham.
Mutated Genome also says 12 Angry Men, which makes sense. I just got called for jury duty next month, which I'm very much hoping it does not happen, but could play that role out in real life. And also, I Am Legend 74 asked Dave, I know you're a war movie fan. Have you been able to watch your 2019 remake of Midway?
No, I have not, but that's on my list. And it's fairly lengthy if I'm remembering. So I think the time or two that the wife and I have sat down to saying, okay, we're going to watch it. I think something came across the Twitter machine or something. I don't know. Something interrupted me that I have not watched it yet, but it's definitely on my list to do so.
And Mark says we never hear what movies Alex would get Dave to watch. That list is very small. I don't know if I have any that Dave wouldn't have already seen. Have you seen the Die Hards, Dave?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
saw Die. Yeah,
Well,
I saw Die Hards before you were born.
that empties my list then. Except see them all except for the last one, and you're good to go.
The original Top Gun was on. Look, the old Rambo's, the old Rockies. Obviously, I was huge into as a kid. I like the original Top Gun. I'm not so excited about them remaking that. Jaws is something I cannot turn the TV off if I come across Jaws being on
Hmm.
for some reason. I really didn't get into that until several years ago, I guess. But yeah, that's just a small sampling there.
Saw Hamilton this weekend. It was out on Disney Plus. Not that I was my first choice, but it's actually pretty good. So if Tiffany
Mm.
ever wants to watch it, it's not it's a long play, but it's pretty good, pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been to a play before,
Yeah,
Alex.
I haven't either, but it's on Disney Plus if
This
anyone wants to
this
watch.
might come as a bit surprise, but I'm
Yeah,
not very cultured.
it doesn't go Jaws, Rambo, West Side Story.
Yeah, I'm not. Education and culture are two things that didn't really happen a lot with me.
All right. On that note, guys, we're gonna wrap up the stream. Went a little bit long, but thank you for everybody who was here. Of course, Dave and I will be back next Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you guys so much for being here again. If you want to go back listen to the archive, it'll get archived on YouTube, get posted on Seagulls Depot either later tonight or Tuesday morning, and you can listen to it in podcast form wherever you already listen to the Steelers Depot podcast. So, Dave, thank you for being here tonight.
My pleasure, and thanks for everybody that joined us tonight. Peace and love. Peace and love.
All right, guys. We will talk to you soon.